Thank you everyone for being a part of this episode. This is episode 214 on the 29th of May 2020. Tonight on this episode, we have two very special guests all the way from Bombay. So I would like to welcome noted author and screenwriter Ketan Bhagat. Ketan, thank you for being on this show.
Thank you.
And you also have director of Upstarts, Uday. Uday, thank you also for joining us tonight. So how has the feeling been so far? What is your experience of joining a talk show?
I'll let Uday answer first.
It's interesting, I think, because the questions are always the most interesting point, because whatever you have to say, over time we've spoken enough, so we know what we're going to say. I know what Ketan's going to say, but it's always interesting to hear questions, because when you write something, you never know what is going to happen in the minds of the people who kind of consume it or read it. And to hear the questions actually is fun, because it makes you gets you some insight into that.
So Uday and Ketan, tell us, how has this lockdown been for you? Because the best of the creativity comes through lockdown. So has something come up during these 8 to 9 week period to you for your next venture, for your next direction, your next book, your next script? Has anything come specially? Because I've often heard that the best of the ideas have come during lockdown. Let's take the example of Nehru's book, Glimpses of World History. He wrote that book he was also under a kind of a lockdown, but that was a different thing. But it's often seen that best of our ideas come during the time when we are not distracted. So has it helped you get to your next idea?
Uday?
Well, see, you have to answer also, by the way. Well, it's an interesting point you mentioned that when you're not distracted. So we are locked down, but I think we are very distracted, because the first couple of weeks, in fact, was a bit hard, because when there was so much uncertainty, what is going to happen? Will it lock down to open tomorrow, close tomorrow, will it lock tomorrow? Then you start seeing the news, the migrants, this, that. So actually, the number of distractions is greater. So I think me personally, in the beginning at least, I was not able to achieve that much. And I've spoken to a couple other writers, and including some professional film writers, and they've also said, actually, I'm not being able to do that. So it's an odd thing. You're also right that if you're locked down, nothing else to do, you should be able to focus. And I think that requires a bit of work and discipline. So in the beginning, when I was watching a lot more Twitter and news, there was almost no output. Then I had to really very actively shut that all down. And it's funny, because the daytime is quiet. I'm not leaving anywhere, but still I'm finding that whatever I've written in these 2 months have been after midnight. Although maybe just because there's less updates on the news or something like that, or just ability to focus more from housework and cooking and bartans and all those things. So yes, I've been able to write some ideas, but there's an idea, there's a story, and there's a screenplay. Each of them is a big jump. I think I'm still at the ideas phase here. Maybe some of them have started putting into stories phase, but making a screenplay out of a story is a much more concerted effort, which I'm not really been able to very successfully do. Although this space is working around, because every time you see the news, you see something, things start spilling in your head, and you have time when you're washing the burtan also is a meditative act, right? There's a repetition to it, and repetition helps you think about other things. So it's a mix and match. Unfortunately, I would say I'm not written enough as I would want to, but we're trying. I think all the writers are.
And what about you, Ketan? Any ideas popping up during this time?
Actually, I agree with Uday. Maybe time for new idea now will happen, because initially we were all sort of handling crisis, what to say. I'm a bit lucky. I had an unfinished novel. So when I was writing, I had just started writing my third novel when I met Uday, and then we were doing Upstarts. So this was a perfect time for for me to get back to that novel. So I think we are more busy in lockdown. Frankly, it's just that we are physically at the same place. There's a jhadu, pocha, bartan, groceries. There's a little kid to handle and all that. But luckily for me, because it was a half-made novel, it's now in the editing phase. So I'm pretty happy that way, from that perspective only. That in Corona time, I was able to utilize it. So hopefully by in a second half of this year, my new novel will come up, and bulk of the work now has happened in the Corona time period.
All right. So since Ketan, Uday, you both have graduated from the field of engineering to media and
not me. I'm not, but Uday is definitely.
So this is for you. You have gone from the field of IT to the field of media and creativity. So how was the experience? How was the jump? What were the biggest differences when you were in the field of media, IIT and engineering, and then you gradually shifted to the field of media? What was the biggest difference?
Ketan, you have to start.
The question is to the IITian.
No, he said IT.
IT or IIT?
You should answer this one because Ketan actually is juggling it still as we speak.
See, I can answer I'll answer in a humorous way.
What was the experience? What was the jump from these two fields? What is the biggest difference in these two fields?
We have to speak in English or we can answer in Hindi also.
It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So मेरे साथ धोखा हो गया सर बहुत बड़ा and उदय को मैं किसी दिन इस बात का compensation मांगूंगा क्योंकि मैं एक IT कंपनी में काम करता हूँ, MNC है, and वो typical ऑफिस है, जाओ काम करो, कोई ज्यादा शैतानी नहीं कर सकते वहाँ पे, और you know so मैं जब
your audio,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So मैं जब उदय से मिला था, and you know, it was a beautiful setup of Bandra West Pictures office. We had, you know, Raja Menon, who's himself a very accomplished producer director. मतलब उदय के साथ एयरलिफ्ट में उदय ने उन्हीं को असिस्ट किया. तो मैं तो फिल्मों में गया कि ये ऑफिस टाइप सेटअप नहीं होगा, यहाँ तो सिर्फ मस्ती करेंगे और यू नो ग्लैमर होगा, वो सब होगा, यू नो. बट ऑनेस्टली, एंड आई एम रियली टेलिंग यू द ट्रूथ, सब धोखा होता है. उदय, राजा, प्रॉपर ऑफिस, चुपचाप काम करते हैं रात दिन लगा के. यू नो दे आर वेरी सीरियस. आई मीन मूवी मेकिंग जो प्रोसेस है उसमें चाहे स्क्रिप्टिंग हो, कास्टिंग हो, शूटिंग हो, जो भी हो, मैंने इतना हार्डवर्क देखा कि मुझे मेरा आईटी कंपनी ज्यादा ग्लैमरस और मस्त लगने लग गया है. क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि वहां जाके हम कैफेटेरिया में चाय पीते रहते, काम नहीं करते, बॉस की बुराई कर लेते हैं और यू नो कस्टमर्स की गालियां दे देते छुप छुप के, यू नो थोड़ा पॉलिटिक्स खेल लेते हैं ईमेल पे. लेकिन एंड उदय यू विल एग्री विद दिस, कितना काम करना पड़ता है. एंड सो इट्स अ ब्यूटीफुल सेटअप, बट it is not as glamorous as it looks like from outside. It is very serious work. Obviously, it is extremely rewarding. It's extremely fulfilling. But I have realized that show business is like any other work. It's like real grunt work. So it's just that कि यहाँ पे आपको creative होना पड़ता है and you are more out there. So मैं अगर ऑफिस में गंदी ईमेल लिखता हूँ तो कोई ज्यादा देखता नहीं है, सिर्फ जिनको लिखता हूँ वही देखते हैं. बट यहाँ पे अगर मैं गंदा डायलॉग लिख दूँ तो आप भी देख सकते हो, कोई भी देख सकता है. So I have to be so careful. बाकी उधर you can add.
I think what Ketan said is true. Like in the end, the picture from the outside that this is all creative and chaos is in creativity and creativity is in chaos. A lot of them are not true because in the end, a lot of the work is like work. It's project management, logistics. But I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is that there are two fundamental things. That one is that there are no barriers to entry, so anyone really can become a filmmaker or writer, director. So there are thousands and millions of people trying to do that, and out of that, very few will actually make it. So there's a big supply-demand difference. Because of that, it's a very unstructured industry. Not because, also in unstructured industry, and this makes it really, really chaotic. Everyone is trying to do it in their way, and they can do it in their way because every 10 filmmakers will have made their first film in a different manner. So there's a certain lack of structure, which I worked in Microsoft in Bangalore after I studied in IIT, and there, even the most chaotic thing over there was 20 times more organized than what the average is here, right? Because just fundamentally, there's a lack of structure in the industry as a whole, and in projects less, because like I said, like Ketan said, when something is on, then you hire people, you pay them money, then things happen. But the process of setting up a project, the process of hiring someone, the getting your opportunities is very unstructured. So that makes it very difficult in the beginning because it's not a pure meritocracy. It's not that you're the best. Like when I came to Bombay, I made a resume. In 10, 11 years, nobody's ever read that resume, right? So I have business cards, but what do I do? Because in the end, you know what you know, and so it is also a lot of your soft skills are more important here. Which is why sometimes you see films, really bad films made by people, or like because they were able to get that film done without necessarily having the film skill set to get that done. So it's how things happen. There's a lot of chaos. So that I think in the beginning was a bit difficult for me to kind of adjust to in the first couple of years, because something which is very objective, this must be done. People will say, no, this will only be done if so and so states is done. And then if the bigger star is asking, it must be done. The smaller star is asking, not shouldn't be done. And look, those sort of things, right? There's a lot of irrationality at some level. And I think that is a big issue, but you get used to it. You see that even in this craziness, there's a bigger pattern. And at some level, it is a meritocracy, because if you go through the craziness, at some level, if you're good and you work hard, you'll get a chance. But that first chances won't happen. You'll have to go through 30 failures to reach that one chance.
But have you updated your resume after Upstart's release?
Not really. Not updated in 10, 11 years now.
I would love to see your resume on LinkedIn.
So Uday, Ketan, this is for both of you. We have seen books adapted into TV shows. We have examples from, the latest example is Sacred Games, and it has become a success because that was a huge book in itself, and it still went into 2 seasons, and there could be a possibility of a 3rd season. So have you watched Sacred Games? What was your experience of it? Because I have read both. I have read the book and watched it, and there were a few similarities. For example, Ganesh Gaitonde's voiceover during the entire thing, and then that subtle message of how they were all connected in some way. So when these TV shows or books which are adapted from books which come out, does one need to read both the book and watch the TV show, which should be read first, the book or watching the TV show?
Uday, you are a director, so book and adapting,
you should not ask. See, they are different mediums in a sense, and actually TV and cinema or feature films are also different mediums. Because what is the scale of the things possibly different. In a novel, you can go cross 10,000 years, right? You can have the beginning of the story and the end of the story cross 10,000 years, 20,000 years. In a science fiction novel, maybe different planets, different galaxies. There's no scope, there's no ending to the imagination. It doesn't have to be tangible. The moment you put it on camera, some things, because you have to show something. In a novel, you can get into a head of somebody. In cinema, you can't. The cinema, there's time limitation, so you can't get into a lot of characters, but in TV you can. So I think the pros and cons, like you mentioned, there's a voiceover which is a correlation. Voiceover is really the only tool that cinema has to get into somebody's head explicitly. Implicitly, the challenge of cinema is that you should show what somebody's feeling without having to say it. If I write a good scene where Ketan and I are having not a fight, suppose there's some other fight going on, we enter the scene and we have a fight for 3rd reason. Maybe I should not, in a good scene, the actor shouldn't say, I'm angry for this reason. The audience should understand what the director is trying to say through visuals. That is what is there about cinema, which in writing, you can say he was angry for so-and-so reason. I felt this rage, and he can describe the rage. I felt the rage of 1,000, like the sun, the surface of the sun pouring into me or whatever. In some, you can write poetically, right? So you're invoking the emotion by words. In cinema, you have to invoke by visuals. So fundamentally, there's a difference. So sometimes, that's why it's called adapted screenplay. You can't directly tell a story. Sacred Games, for example, I've not read the book. It depends. It depends on how much I value like if I really write an author, like a novel author, then I'll read the book first, then I'll see the movie. If I like a director, then I'll see the movie first and then read the book. So it's that sort of a thing. So I think, and nowadays, because time is limited, as a child, you would read everything. So my favorite adaptations are not really from like all these great authors, necessarily the novelist literature guys, but people like Jurassic Park is one of, I've read the novel 4 times, then I saw the movie and I liked both of them as a child. The Michael Crichton novel. So Michael Crichton, a lot of his things have gotten adapted and they've been great as novels and great as films also. So even if you know the firm, you'll still enjoy the movie. So in a good piece of art, it's not just about what is the ending. It is about the journey, right? So Sacred Games, unfortunately, I can't directly comment on because I've not read the book and I've not seen season 2. So, but I enjoyed season 1.
No, I think someone, I remember once, many years ago, I had gone to producer's office for my book. And then he said a line that I will always remember. He said, Ketan, in a book, it's the reader who imagines. And in a movie, it's the director who imagines. So he shows his imagination. So, and and now that I've written both a movie and a novel, I sort of agree with it. It's the same story, two mediums, but the language is totally different, and the style is totally different. It's not easy. Sacred Games, I loved both the seasons actually, and but I like the second season even more than the first. And I like now whether the novel is better or not. I mean, I have not read it, but the fact of the matter is, story was told, and end of the day, a story told visually will be having a much more audience than a story told in black and white paper. So for me, actually, it is the story that matters, how it takes different forms. Like, sometimes I've seen, even in my brother's case, that there's been play on 5 Point Someone, there's a movie on 5 Point Someone, and there's novel 5 Point Someone. Now people can keep saying this was better, that was better, but what is amazing is that the story has reached so many people. And the story, and end of the day, be it Uday or be it me, we are storytellers. We may just have a different canvas or tool, but we are storytellers. We want to, when Uday came to me and we discussed Upstarts, he wanted a story to be told. His medium was cinema. So for me, actually, it doesn't matter how it is told, as long as it is told.
The interesting thing you mentioned 5 Point Someone, because I was in IT when I read it, but there's one scene there which is not in the movies and all, which I think so. There's a scene when this character, I forget everything, uski girlfriend is also from IT and he's teaching her to drive a car, and
yes,
she takes the shoe off and she's putting her barefoot on the accelerator, and he describes that moment, the flesh on metal or something like that. And that's an interesting thing, because if he's describing that, he's showing what is the process going on in his head, so you can relate to that. Now, but it's also a very visual moment. Like, but if I just show a shot of accelerator and flesh, it doesn't work. I have to, although it's a visual, but it's a visual invoking an imagination, like Ketan said, in the audience head to make them correlate. So it is, how do you showcase the video? A director will have to shoot the scene a bit differently. He'll have to, I don't know, like build up, show that guy's fascination with something, maybe the way in slow motion you show that. But still, even if you show the flesh touching, the thought that the writer was saying as the author, which is in quotes, the sense of flesh on metal, it won't, till you say these words, it won't come out in cinema in the way you want. So it's the tools you have at your disposal also, right?
And likewise, let me just put it the other way. So a beautiful thing that you said, but likewise, I was watching Jo Jeeta Wohi Sikandar again, because the lockdown, I was showing it to Rian. And there's that Pooja Bedi short, Marilyn Monroe moment. Now try to write it, but it's the visual. It's the visual. In just 2-3 seconds, it conveys. So you're right. I mean, like I said, different tools, they have different pros and cons. But the story is important. Story is told.
So in fact, like he'd come, Chetan had come to IT for a talk, and I told him my favorite scene is that. He said, yeah, this is like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Then he said, yeah, the director of the film who's going to be made will also like the scene. Then I saw the film and that scene wasn't there. So so that's the reason I brought this story up, right? So the poor director failed in taking the vision. And I said, for me, that was, right now, that's all I remember of the story that one scene. Although that's the thing, you remember different things from different stories. So I'm not remembering a visual, I'm remembering an idea. But it's not there in the movie. So like you said, every format is different.
So let's move away from something different. So Uday, Ketan, are you missing sports right now? Sporting events are at a halt. Any specific sports you're missing?
I think there's a good answer there.
You would like to?
I have a 9-year-old in the house, and he worships Virat Kohli, and he waits the whole year for IPL. And so he loves Corona, and he says Corona should always remain because there's no school and exam, but Corona should not touch cricketers so that cricketers can continue playing. But I personally, I'm a yoga person, so I am doing yoga. I miss my classes. I take classes. I miss my students and all that. but I do yoga. So particularly for me personally, I'm not missing any sport except that because of my son, I wish IPL was there.
So when it comes to that, you can read my book. This was my first book.
Oh,
The Fifth Empire.
congratulations!
I had it
Congratulations!
last year. It's about the sports reviews.
Okay,
Oh,
interesting.
wonderful.
It's
Uday,
on
you're into
Amazon.
sports?
I used to be the biggest cricket fan for the longest time, but then what happened was IPL. I fundamentally don't like the 2020 format. I don't like it. I think at all. I used to be the guy who got up 3 in the morning and watch South Africa Australia ka test match, and like when I
Test
was
match.
test match. For me, test match was the purity of it. But one day I could tolerate, but T20 is. I feel that any sport where how luck can overturn the ability, that there's too much tendency for the luck based factors to overturn ability based factors in test match. And in a one day, eventually the better team will always win. In T20 there's a lesser percentage, obviously dominantly on average over time. So but after T20 I've really my interest declined, especially when India won the World Cup. So that was a full catharsis of my life. So I for 4 hours I danced in Marine Drive, and that night and after that I think my whole cricket thing is gone. Especially because I think T20 doesn't fascinate me at all. And everyone, if you don't follow IPL and these things, you start losing touch. Who's this guy? Who's that guy? So recently, though, I've gotten a reinterest because I'm a techie also in Formula One. So that's what because it's actually a lot of drama. It's got all these technology also. It's got all these racing guys also, but it's also got all these politics. Kisne isko backstab kiya, isne wo kiya. Then they did this deal secretly. Then this guy went from here to here. So I find that journey very fascinating. So I've been, in fact, I've been following that even now because there's lots of drama even happening now because one guy left one team went to the other, and they paid him so much money. Then he criticized that guy. There's a Netflix documentary also now that 2 seasons have come on the drama behind Formula One.
We can see that, yeah.
So actually, it's
Formula One.
Car racing. So yeah, so so I do yoga too. I'm not as an expert like Ketan, but just to survive because I want to not die.
Just to stay fit.
Sporting events, irrespective of lockdown, we should start them instead of waiting more because they're still looking at it from the point of view of the safety of the players. Do you think they should just start it now?
I think it's starting. I saw in the news today, English Premier League is starting now.
Manchester City versus Arsenal first game.
I think they'll start soon.
Even Formula One, but they need to be careful. It shouldn't be like you go in circles, that you open up, then you get cases, then you close up, then you open up, then you get cases, then close up. When you start, it's been now yesterday, there's a Guardian article that proved very conclusively that there are 2 big matches football matches that happened in, I think, March or in February were big super spreader events. Okay. So without audiences, but still the teams like in a cricket match now, somebody was saying, right, that now they'll have to ban saliva for swinging because everyone is touching the same ball. How do you, and saliva is important to set up one side of the ball so you can swing it. But now in COVID world, even if you have a match, will people share saliva?
No,
it's a point. Anil mentioned that the other day. It's a valid point. So do you ban, remember in the old days, they used to scratch the ball with a bottle cap to kind of make it rough and make it swing. Now, saliva, bottle cap is, the ball tampering was disallowed, but saliva was allowed. Now they're saying saliva might not be allowed. So then how will that change swinging and how will that change sports? So even if you allow, I'm saying, even if you remove spectators, those 22 people have, or not 22 people, 12 people, 11 plus 1 plus umpires, so 13 people have access to that ball.
14.
Right. So, it's 2 umpires. So how do you protect those guys? So I think there are many questions. And in Formula One, they're saying you'll put them all into quarantine together. That's what they're planning for the Formula One race. That people will be put 14 days quarantine because they have to be working around that car. There are 30 people standing. So I think if they answer those questions well, then they should go ahead because I think they'll make for 2 reasons. I think people are happy watching sports, especially it's big economic activity also, right? There are reasons, but I think here's where we are not the right people as the experts, the scientific experts who need to. Because it'll be very sad if you can't swing the ball because you can't put saliva on the thing.
When it comes to sports, especially the professional ones, WWE is the only one which had been running throughout this situation for the last 2 months.
Hmm.
I watch every day. I get up at 6 a.m. and
Okay,
watch.
how is it doing? Is it doing well?
I mean, yes, they have no spectators, but the wrestlers are grappling, doing their and everything. And I think apart from the whole audience, because audience does make a difference. It's a very quiet atmosphere. Even the WWE is doing it in their own training center. They're not doing it in big stadiums. So it does make a difference. Now they're getting audience slowly. They're getting their own trainees to become audience, and they're putting those shields so that the wrestlers don't interact with them, and they're trying to get that thing back. Though they have continued with that. So that's the only one which has continued. Apart from that, I haven't watched EPL because of the time difference, but I have watched WWE, and it's very interesting. Yes, it's you might think it's violent, but it's still somewhere it's entertainment also, because like a movie, there is a script, they're following something, there are people behind the scenes working on it. The only difference is it's a live show. It's deferred live, but it's enjoyable. Apart from that, I want to know from Ketan, who is Ketan Bhagat, the person, and what kind of food do you enjoy apart from a writer and other activities? What do you do at home during this? What do you do at home in general? What kind of food do you enjoy, and what do you do when not writing a book?
Oh, okay. Well, most of the time I'm not writing. I'm not a very passionate writer, as they say. I'm a very lazy writer. Uday will agree with me. He's struggled.
That's not true.
I have a pretty hectic life. I'm a full-time father to this little naughty child. And as you can see, he doesn't leave me that easily, which is nice. I'm a yoga teacher. So before Corona, I would probably take 1 or 2 classes a day, and then I would do my own yoga practice. Then, of course, I have a job. I have a full-time job in an MNC. And then I also do a lot of talks. I talk about spirituality, motivational talks, and all that. So it's a hectic life most of the time. And as far as food is concerned, I am a Punjabi. I love food. I love dal makhnis, and I'm a vegetarian. But all the shahi paneers and dal makhnis I love. Unfortunately, I have a very weak stomach, so then over the years I've really cut down on eating. So I probably just have 1 meal a day, and the other meals are chai and.
Ketan never eaten. Barely seen him eat.
There'll be 4.
Chai.
Chai.
So my advice to everyone who can eat is eat before your stomach stops cooperating, and then you have to stop eating. It's one of those joys that's so beautiful. So yeah, but I love Punjabi food. I love the dal makhni and the shahi paneer, and anything that is fattening is usually very tasty. So and you can see my looks. Nobody looks at me anyway, so I don't really care much about my figure. So as long as it's tasty and it's in that 1 meal I have on the day, I take it up.
And what about you, Uday? What do you do? Who is Uday apart from being the director?
Not. I'm just any ordinary guy. You asking food wise or like otherwise?
Food wise, hobbies apart from.
No, see, the funny thing is fun that your hobby becomes your job. So that's what happened in my case. But I'm over interested in everything in the world. So half the time I'm reading stupid news about everything, whether it's like I said, politics of Formula One, or how some coronavirus trial happened in some certain country, and then I'll read the research paper, or it's I was longest time fascinated with planes, so I read lots of, because I saw this one movie where one normal passenger flies a plane, and because the pilots have died, so he lands the plane. So then I spent 2 months researching whether that is really possible, and how people would really kind of behave in that scenario. So those sort of things, and the mechanics of planes. So then I saw lots of YouTube videos on how people actually fly a plane. So technically I would say I'm closest to what I used to be officially earlier, which is a researcher. So I like researching everything, right? So that's what I based a lot of my time on, which sometime will become a film like Upstart, but sometimes just be for curiosity. So I'm over curious. So my biggest time goes in, I'll see YouTube videos and everything. Why is cheese so expensive? Then I see 30 videos on the price of cheese, or some So I think my biggest problem is too much curiosity, but now I can justify it saying that, oh no, it's related to my work. Then, although my wife does bulk of the cooking and she's half North Indian, half South Indian, so we get variety, but I've been looking a lot of cooking. So I made pizzas and brownies, and I made some lache parathe, then cookies. But then before doing that, for each thing I had to see 30 videos. So I saw 20 videos on how to make a lache paratha because I wanted to learn by each of those guys' mistakes. So the first time I make it, I don't make a mistake. And then I saw 30 brownie videos. Then I had each recipe different. Then I spent a lot of time. I made tables. Then I said, okay, this guy is saying 150 grams, but this guy is saying 175 grams. So how many grams should I put? So then I kind of so I like to accelerate learning. So technically maybe somebody could have seen all those videos and tried 20 videos and then come up with their recipes. I saw those 20 videos and came up with a recipe. So yeah, so I've not been that adventurous cooking wise, but some interesting stuff we've had. Actually, food wise, we're having a great time. Because my wife is a really good cook. And sometimes we had craving, I made pizza, then I made brownie, then I made olive oil cookies. The only thing I'm missing is sushi. Rest, I think we're quite good food-wise. We're really having a good time in the food regards only. And we have to count a privilege because half the country isn't. So that way we are fortunate.
So
Mr. Pawar, I'm coming for lunch or dinner as soon as the lockdown opens. My mouth is watering.
I'll join as well. So this is a question for both Ketan. Now that you have written a movie and you have directed a movie and been over there. So when you watch a TV show or a movie, do you think from the point of view that maybe he shouldn't have done this scene in this way? He could have written this scene in this way. Does that happen to you often when you're watching a movie, even if it's for entertainment? Those such thoughts come because you're over there every day. You have done this.
For me, actually, not at all. So people say I should be thinking like for example, if you're watching a detective thing, also my wife will always know, ye hoga. I completely go with the flow. I don't know why. I'm very engaged, but I'm never calculating what would happen, what could have happened. And even if I really like a film, or hate a film, if my mind never says it, he should have done that. And that's really odd because my work is different, but my mind somehow while watching it's a different thing. So many times I hate a movie the first time I see it, and for me that's important. But second time I see it, I'll say, "Ha, ye to acha kiya tha." Then I'll wonder why I didn't like it first time, because first time I'm watching it very in one way where I'm only looking for the story. So I don't really care if scene mein ye hua, usme wo hua. Unless I really hate it, then you say, "Yeah, kya kar diya?" But then my brain won't try to fix it. So I'm a very good audience that way. I don't.
What about you, Ketan?
You know, Uday has corrupted me for life. I am unable to enjoy anything now. And Uday, I will sue you one day for this also. You know, I'll tell you, because now, and this is, I mean, on a serious note, you know, I'm very thankful to Raja, Uday, and, you know, Ritesh, Suresh, whosoever mentored me at least. Now I understand screenplay. And I can imagine the contribution the actor has made, the set designer has made, the director has made. I mean, it's a director's medium, you know. So I always watch the movie from a director's point of view. And my appreciation, because, you know, I remember one day on Upstart's shooting I went, and there were about 300 people, you know. And, you know, it's so difficult to make a movie, honestly, you know, because on screen I've written, this is what needs to be done. But to actually make it happen, and, you know, simple thing like dress, set, makeup, body language. I mean, when Uday is directing, creatively he has to be so sound that despite the 100 other technical things that he's looking, he has to also see whether creatively he's shooting the way he wants to shoot or be decided to shoot. And so my appreciation for the craft has grown so high that I admire even a bad movie now. You know, at least the guy made a movie. He managed to make a movie. He managed to release it. You know, it's great. And then the ones that are really nice, you know, like, for example, I have always been a fan of Vishal Bhardwaj. But when I watched Omkara again, I realized what a beautiful screenplay is. The way the movie has been written is so nice. And that's a learning for me. So I'm just saying that the people whom I've always admired, my respect for them has gone 10 times. Or for example, I'll take Raja Menon's example. I had watched Airlift before, I had met him, and obviously you like the movie, but then you see the person, and then you see the way he is, his vision, and then you see the effort it takes to make a movie. Then it's like you enjoy a dish, but when you see the chef actually making it and the pains he goes through it, then your appreciation for it goes 10 times more. So, but the flip side is I cannot plug off like Uday said he can. Uday, I wish I could. I just cannot watch a movie as an entertainment piece now. I have to see the screenplay and all that. It's corrupted for life.
So in the context, there was this TV show which came 5 years, Person of Interest. Have you seen it?
Person of Interest, no.
Nice. Is it good?
It's good. It's written by Jonathan Nolan.
Oh, nice. He's a good writer.
So it's I mean, the way they have shown the movie and the whole idea of surveillance.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah. I think TV. Then one, even I was talking to Ketan about Billions. That's also a great TV show written.
Mm.
And I think all TV shows are good, but these ones just bring out the best of the director and the writer from me, because I see it from the point of view of the writer, what the writer wants. For me, the actors only come in when the director and the writer have done all the work of creating it. Actors are important, but for me, it's like they have to come in, they have to do a scene, but unless a director knows what the scene is, the actor is not going to, unless you have a rare combination of someone who is a director, a writer, actor. That's a rare combination. One who can direct, write, and act. That's also a rare combination. So is Uday someday going to act in his own movie one day? Write, direct, and act?
I think it's like, even like I keep telling, although technically, see, a lot of the creative process is just imagining something. So in the end, the work of a writer and director are not that afar, because it's your imagining and visualization. Yet, it's a different skill. Like Ketan can do things which I can't. Like sometimes I'll just write out a scene and it doesn't have any life. Then it's not just a question of dialogue. It'll be very mechanical. But then a writer is able to look into their mind and find examples from the real world and shape them into what is. So I know the logical constructs of what the scene needs to do. But Ketan will give it life, which is what a writer does. Similarly, I think an actor gets life through their body, which is completely different. And it is both an art and a craft. And I think I have neither. Sometimes when I really care, and I like, right now I'm talking emphatically about something. Though if you put a camera on me, because I'm emphatically talking with passion, perhaps it might sound that I can perform, but like, so when I'm directing my actors and I'm playing a line from the character, then it might say, oh, he's acting, but I'm not acting. I'm sharing some thought in my head. Acting is a much more evolved skill, which some people have by training, some people have by talent and instinct, but I think I don't have, and I'm quite okay with that, because I think what I do have is an ability to direct actors and find the better thing. So that's something, the only thing I'm proud of. One thing I'm proud of in the film, because I realized that I can push actors in a certain director, and the only way I can do it is by not acting. If I try to act out their lines, it'll be horrible. So I would always tell them, Uday, don't listen to the way I'm saying it, but the motivation of why I'm saying it. And then they do it in their manner. Because I think that's what gives it life. They have to take themselves, like Ketan puts himself out and puts it into my script. But he takes examples from his life and he puts it and shapes it into my story. The same way an actor will take examples from their life and put it into our story. And that skill is not an easy skill. So I don't think there's any chance of me ever getting into acting, because by the time, like, sometimes you might be really passionate and you really work hard at one line, and I say 300 times, then maybe I'll be able to say one line in a film and get away with it. But like in Upstarts, I had one line, but that line I was just improving on what is my research on the film. Like, I'm a news guy. So that was easy because I was playing an expert on a field. But I don't think acting is something that I've fortunately, and I will be able to do, and I'm okay with that. I think I'll find the right actor to do whatever I need to do.
So are we expecting Ketan to do a special appearance in future screenplays?
Yeah. Ketan is a very good actor.
No. So I must tell you this, that, I used to think I'll act because, as a child, you always think, "Tum to hero ho."
And you're always big drama buzz.
And then Uday gave me a small extra role. What do you call character artist, whatever nice word you call, but I had to just sit and I did such a bad job of that also. The whole unit was laughing. And I realized that day,
He
some
was
skills,
nodding with every line.
because I'm a writer and I was writing, and it's a zone I'm just not in that zone. And then I accepted that I'm a bad actor, I'm a horrible actor. Some skills you don't have, you want to have, but you don't have. So now I envy actors, I admire actors, I respect
But your
actors.
new look is very good. This bearded look, you'll get a lot of roles. This role look is good
Thank you
look.
so much. I think, yeah, but the physicality aspect, maybe if it's a role where I have to just close my eyes, act like a dead body, then maybe I can
It's
do
also
it.
not easy. You should know that.
Oh, no. See, so I'm very bad at acting. And Aditya, only when you see actors and you get into this, you realize acting is not a joke. You actually, the way they do it, it looks very easy. But when you try to do, then you realize it's not easy a job. So I think I'm also very happy being in the background. In fact, the little bit आगे आने का जो कीड़ा था, वो भी सब मर मुरा गया मेरा. I'm very happy being in the background and watching actors. In fact, I can't even become a director. I've seen what Uday has gone through, and a director's, I think every director deserves a standing ovation the day his movie is released, because I'm not joking, just to make a movie is so difficult. Forget good, bad, ugly. So it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
That's an interesting perspective. But the question I want to know is, how did you two meet before the movie Upstarts was written? How was
Well,
that?
actually quite straightforward. So the producer Raja Menon. So because I'd come up with the idea and so we were brainstorming, and he told me I was his assistant on Airlift, and he told me that that if I write something, he'll produce it, because we really got along, and he felt that I could perhaps. So he gave me my break, and he said that you write something, and I wrote this idea, and then his Airlift writers and his other collaborators, a person called Ritesh Shah. So he asked Ritesh, "Do you know any writers who might be okay for they might want to, could collaborate with?" And very coincidentally, Ketan had been in some discussion with Ritesh over, I think, Child God or something. He wanted to make it a movie, and he'd gone to him for some advice or something. So Ritesh knew Ketan, and Ritesh just said, "Okay, I think somehow he had a gut feeling that we'll get along," and so he connected us. So then, in the beginning, what we did was that we met, and then. Chetan took this 10-page story written, and then he wrote out some 10 scenes or 5 scenes which are inspired by that story. And actually, Raja also really liked it. I also really liked it. Then we said, okay, maybe we should take this thing further. And then we sat, and then we, I think, met 7-8 times with a whiteboard and spent 5-6 hours each time, where we chalked out. Earlier was my story, then how do you make it our story? From the 10th pager, we went to a 40 pager, which was Ketan and my story. So, like, the whole opening with the kidnapping and all didn't exist before. And Rocky Saxena didn't invest, Ravi Bansal. And some Rocky and Ravi didn't even exist then. Ketan created them later, when we went from the 40 pager to the screenplay. So, I think it worked out in the, actually, like I said, when I was saying this industry is not meritocracy, but it is in some way. And if you, so in that sense, a logical way of work, which is rare, that Raja spoke to his writer, writer spoke. But suppose Ketan hadn't met Ritesh in those few months, maybe 2 months later, I would never, like, it'll be a different writer. So in the end, there's no way to send it out there that I'm looking. Just only by somebody knows somebody knows somebody. That's how I got to meet Ketan.
I'll be forever grateful to Ritesh for this. And
he
actually,
mentored us a lot in the script also.
Yeah.
So if you see his credit, is script consultant in the film, because he guided us quite a bit. He and Suresh and Raja, 3 of them. Suresh and another writer, Suresh Nair.
Ritesh himself is a big writer. He's written movies like Kahani, Pink, and then obviously Airlift. And can you even imagine? Look at his generosity, that a writer is recommending another writer. Can you imagine? It's a so-called insecure industry, so-called where people don't promote each other. I don't think so. I had a really different experience. So I call him my guru, but honestly, and I think Uday said it beautifully, because at the right time, right people just met, and it's God willing. So.
Yeah, you went to Rang Sharda and had like lots of beers and discussed.
Yeah, we didn't go to a temple. We went to a beer. Yeah, Aditya.
Well, if you want to know more about movies, I've written this book.
Yeah. I'm looking to buy it when as Amazon started delivery here, because we're in a red zone. Not much things are getting delivered.
Right now, it's only on Kindle.
Okay.
We'll check
So
it
you
out.
have a hard copy. Achha, it's not available online.
No, I mean the hard copy was sent by my publisher.
Okay.
So,
So Kindle on the phone can also be open if you don't have a Kindle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Kindle can you can have. I mean the Amazon you can have, if you have Amazon account, you can open on their cloud Kindle. They also
Okay.
have a Kindle cloud. If you have a desktop, you can have the application. And they can
Okay.
do it. So
Actually, because I've never actually many years ago I'd seen a Kindle, actual Kindle, and then I never loved it, so I never got it. But now somebody was telling me after I spoke, because when I was looking for the book, then I checked that I didn't know that on a phone you can download Kindle app and use it.
So let's talk from the point of a writer and a director. When a movie comes out and then a review is written, how much does it affect you? Are you looking forward to a review?
Mr. Pawar?
Because it does influence movie goers, even if it's on digital platforms or in theaters. Ketan, what about you?
I think we lost Uday for a second, no?
Yeah. You can give your thoughts on that.
No, actually, to me personally,
Completely frozen for a while, so I didn't hear anything.
Actually, Uday should answer because it was my first. So, the first, the first movie release is extremely special and emotional moment for me. So, for me, actually, the reviews, the people, I found them very nice, anyways, and I cannot view objectively because it's my first movie, and to just see what you've written actual on screen and people watching and all that. So for me, actually, it was too emotional a moment to really objectively see what the critics are saying, not saying, and so much love came. I was not expecting that, because typically I always felt that it is the actors who will be loved and all. They are the ones who are seen on the screen, and especially it's on Netflix and all that. But so many people wrote to me, so many people reached out to me, and they've seen the movie. Or sometimes even when you said you're reminded of Three Idiots, somebody said it's reminded of Dil Chahta Hai. I took it all as a compliment, that and some people said TV pictures and something like that. I know the inside story. It was an original story written by Uday, and he actually wrote the original story inspired by real life people and real life incidents. So he never had this. But for me, maybe in the coming movies, I would see objectively the comments and all that. Upstart is too special. It's like your own child. You just don't see a flaw in it. I just don't. So Uday, maybe you have to tell about critic reactions and all that.
I don't know. See, historically, we always read reviews, but reviews around the world, not just in India, are nowadays not necessarily something. There are people who are critics and reviewers, and there are people who are just telling the story of the movie and saying, "Yeah, ye sab ganda hai." And for me, like my favorite reviewer ever was Roger Ebert, because I would always read his review after seeing the film, because it would always give me some insight to what the film is about or was trying to be about. And the important thing I learned from that was that the reviewer should judge the film by what the film is trying to be, not what the reviewer wants the film to be. And a lot of reviewers nowadays across the world are, I think like I saw one reviewer who, I think sometimes younger reviewers feel also the whole thing is how do you bring down something. And for me, even when Roger Ebert had a 1-star review, he would not bring down people. So a lot of reviews are not really reviews; they are just comments or opinions on. So that's why you always, like what I learned from my bosses when I worked before as assistant director, that you have to take them with a pinch of salt. But even then, like at the bigger films, I worked with bigger directors and who have been here. They were not really reading them. I was reading the reviews more than them. So I think in my earlier films I was assisting, so the directors knew that you'll feel really good about something good that is written, but you will feel really, really bad about something bad that is written. So how do you judge? So in the end, you use your sense. You can read the reviews, maybe they'll give you some insight or something you didn't think about. So that's why I read all the reviews, and I liked the good reviews, and the bad reviews I felt कि इनको कुछ पता नहीं है तो. So it's as simple as that.
Well, do read my book and let me know what are your
Of course.
feedback. And
Sure.
It's irrespective of our review. If you've written, it's got published, it's out there. Hats off to you. I'm telling you,
Yes.
it's not a
Yeah,
joke.
even writing the whole first draft is a hard word.
Aditya, I think you are selling yourself too short if you are really judging yourself by the opinion of others only. So yes,
no, not exactly.
Yeah, definitely take feedback from people and take it with a pinch of salt. But what you have achieved even now is a big feat. I genuinely feel that.
So Uday, Ketan, how was the experience being on the show?
Very interesting actually for us to just sometimes you learn a lot by questioning yourself, and then you'd like try to understand sometimes because you question yourself but other people questioning you forces you to what like when you ask me that question about what other than a filmmaker I am saying, okay, what am I now? Right? It's interesting to pose questions to yourself, so I enjoy that. And for me, it's also the other part of me and Ketan reminiscing about our journey, so that's also fun. So thank you so much for having us and for making us going experience.
Ketan, what about you?
Oh no, thank you. You make me feel I'm very famous and successful because most of the time, you see people being interviewed, and in just a few days ago or some time ago, they told me, Ketan, now you're giving interviews. That's a different zone. Because usually I give lectures and I take examples of people, and now I am myself giving an interview, and maybe somebody will take my example. So it's a different zone. So it's a great feeling to be interviewed. It's one of those milestones in life. And while writing Upstarts, the journey that itself was so memorable. And when we give this interview, we go back to that journey. So it's like, now people later on remember their college life. So I actually miss those Upstart days. They were fun. And
I think it was.
Now I've told Ketan another idea, but he's finishing his novel. So then when he finishes his novel,
we'll do it. I'm very excited about that idea. We will definitely do it.
Can you tell us something about the next novel you're writing? Some insight?
My novel?
Yeah.
It's a totally different zone from what I have been. It's a zone on how nowadays, when couples fight and they have a divorce, what do they fight about most, and how that impacts and shakes up, and then the whole gender equality thing, and how it's pretty chaotic out there. It's a totally different zone. It's not at all related to Upstarts. It's not at all. I won't say. I mean, it's not about child God, but child God is about child being born and all that. And the couple being in love and the guy. So this is a different zone. But again, inspired from what's happening in society, what's happening in real life.
So have you read? So my question is, you read when you wrote Child God and the second book. Did you also read other authors to get some idea how to get into this writing thing? Because I have been inspired by someone called David Baldacci, the way he creates his characters, the way he goes into the in-depth of his characters. And after a while, you feel that two books nearly had the same plot. When you read the same book twice, for example, there is this book called The Memory Man, in which you have a main character called Amos Decker. And then he has three characters. He has John Puller, Amos Decker, and he has one more main character on which he bases most of his books. So there's another book called Guilty, in which he has the main character, John Puller. After you read the book 2-3 times, you feel that there's something similar in both the books. How the lead character, despite him being, let's say, from a certain government agency, all the things he has seen, going back to your roots and the experiencing over there. So I love the way so any author you have read, you think you have got some idea from, let's say, inspiration from.
No, I hardly read. I told you I have a busy life, but I genuinely don't believe in taking inspiration from anyone except life. So I never read. In fact, even when we were doing Upstarts, I remember Uday was kind enough to gift me books on writing and all that. But I was more interested in just meeting people who do startups and just seeing them. And for me, character building, and I've never really gone by any technique or anyone. I admire Salman Rushdie a lot. I read him because for the grasp he has over the language and the poetic way in which he writes is, I just find it mesmerizing. Something I cannot do. So I enjoy him a lot. I learn from him. But his storytelling, his stories are totally different. For me, see, again, there's a way to tell a story and what is the story. It's like a child and how you raise the child. Someone now, for me, the story matters. And like every parent is different, parenting is different. So for me, it's my story told my way. And then what I do is I obviously show it to a lot of people before publishing, make them read and say, is it making sense? Is it impressive? Is it boring or not? But I genuinely believe in the concept of emptiness and vacuum. So that's where I feel originality comes from. So, and particularly in my case, it's very easy because I have a superstar brother writer. So it's very easy for anyone to say you can take inspiration from him, which I do. But the writing style is totally different. It's just me what comes from inside.
Well, Uday, it was great having you on the show. I hope you had lots of fun. And
Yeah, definitely.
in the future, we'll have another session like this again.
Sure.
Every time Uday releases a movie, we should do a session like this.
So, all right, let me know and we'll.
He's going to make a lot of movies, I can tell you that.
It was great having you on the show. And well, this ends this very special episode. We had guests like Ketan Bhagat and Uday Pawar on the show. Thank you so much. And I'll be seeing you on Monday. Stay tuned. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Take care.
Okay. Well.